Hello there. What if I told you that the land in which your house currently sits on doesn't belong to you? Either it's a land that belongs to the family or an inheritance, or the land that you've bought with millions of naira. What if I told you it doesn't belong to you? Because, and this is the reason, because based on the Nigerian law, you should note that every land belongs to the government. Guess what? A major reform is coming into Nigeria, such that this reform is going to affect ownership of land across all board. And this reform coming is a digital land revolution. Why this reform might be changing land ownership and also changing wealth creation from real estate, you should also know that a lot of people will be crying, especially those whose land are undocumented, which is unfortunate. And in this video, I'll be uncovering every truth you need to know about lands in Nigeria in the year 2026. For several decades in Nigeria, when you talk to most Nigerians about land ownership, it starts with them buying a land, then building a house, then fencing the property, then getting the necessary documentation. And unfortunately, that is what every Nigerian thinks as ownership. But unfortunately, that is not ownership, because in the Nigerian legal system, it shows us that ownership of land is beyond that. Now, one thing you should also understand is there's a clear difference between occupying a property and ownership of a property, which is something I'll be breaking down in the video as we go further in the video today. And in today's video, I'll be revealing 4 important things we need to know. Number 1, I'll be explaining why Nigerians don't truly own property in the real traditional sense of it all. Number 2, I'm talking about how the Nigerian Land Act 1978 changed everything about land ownership. Number 3, I'll be talking about why the federal government wants this reform to happen. Number 4, I'll be talking about how this digital revolution is going to affect a lot of land owners in the millions in Nigeria as of today. If this is for you, I'll say stay tuned as I dive into the video fully right about now. To understand today's controversy, I'll be taking us far back as 1978. In the previous times, the land were owned by traditional institutions, families, individuals. That was how land ownership was. But in the year 1978, when the military government were in power, they brought about the 1978 Land Use Act. And interestingly, with just that one act, it changed the stethoscope. And interestingly, with just that one act, it changed the structure of land ownership in Nigeria as of today. So what does the act, what does it talk about, what does it bring? What the act sort of talks about is the land is not owned by any individual. The land is owned by the governor of a state. So for instance, as we have the governor of Lagos State, all the lands in Lagos is being owned by the governor of Lagos State in holding it in trust of the people. So the land is owned by the governor of Lagos State. Then the governor of Lagos State, let's say you buy a land today. As soon as you buy the land is free from every government acquisition. What do you apply for? You apply for a COO. And upon applying for the COO, is as if the governor sort of gives you the land to occupy for 99 years, because COO typically is 99 years when it comes to residential COO. And after that, what happens again? You come renew it. So if you understand what that has happened is, you don't have the total right of ownership of the land. The land belongs to the state and is being owned as in trust with the governor of each state, and the governor of each state tends to tell you what to do with the land in actual sense by leasing it out to you for 99 years. And that's where the COO plays an important part based on this whole thing, really. And don't take my word for it alone. So now I'll be going through the Land Use Act and I'm going to read this to us, okay? The law, so this is section 1 of the act. The law clearly states that all land comprised in the territory of each state shall be vested in the governor and held in trust for use and for common benefit of Nigeria. And what this simply means is what that means. What that simply means is that many people call ownership, what many people call ownership is not ownership, just like I've explained earlier on. So now it's almost like the government is leasing the land for you as a leasehold within that duration of time, and that's what the law is sort of explaining in this point in time. And interestingly, with this is going to surprise a lot of Nigerians, because most Nigerians think, oh, I pay for a land, I get documentation, I get the absolute ownership, but you don't actually have the absolute ownership, because the government still has the say. Because if you get what they've said here, it's actually you almost renting the land for the government, and anything you must use that land for must be beneficial to not just yourself, but to every Nigerian as well. And the problem does not just stop there alone, because when it comes to land registration, that's another ball game in the Nigerian real estate industry as at today. Because most Nigerians actually buy land, but they think buying of a land confirms that they own the land, but they do not perfect their documents. Most people, what they tend to rely on is family agreements. They also rely on community recognition, and also rely on informal receipt and traditional transaction. And guess what? None of this actually owes anything. It doesn't owe anything. Even if you take it to some places, it doesn't owe ownership at the end of the day. And even with some of these things, you can't even use it as a collateral for you to do anything in the formal economy as at today. And if you ask most economics what this sort of asset is called, they usually call them dead capital. Because despite you have a capital, or you have a property or an asset that you could use as a collateral, you can actually use them in the formal economy to do anything meaningful. So most people have actually bought land, but they've not perfected the title of the land, which also is talking about you registering your land. So this is also a big challenge. Now let's talk about the big plan of the government. The federal government has publicly acknowledged that Nigeria's land administrative system requires major reform. And this is not just me saying it alone. In the newspaper publication, which you'll be seeing on your screen right now, you could see that the Vice President stated that the Land Use Act requires review and modernization to support economic growth and improve land administration. So I'm not just saying this, but the evidences are there. And on your screen right now, you could see the Vice President of Nigeria publicly stating this, that this thing has been there for the past 48 years. The Land Use Act is overdue and it needs review. He said this, and the evidences are also there, and this is actually the fact. And it does not stop there at all, because apart from this said by the Vice President earlier on, another big thing in which that's been stated in the newspaper publication is that the government wants to establish National Land Commission. The federal government is pursuing the plan for a National Land Commission aimed at improving land governance, transparency, and also registration system. And this will be one of the biggest reforms, because this we've been clamoring for years upon years. This will be a major landmark in terms of land ownership in Nigeria as well. So you could see these reforms will change a lot of things about ownership of land, and I believe that sooner or later we would understand more about what are coming into play to change in terms of land ownership in Nigeria as at today. Okay, now let's talk about the digital end, which is the land registration revolution that wants to happen. And this is very important, because major steps has been taken behind the scene about this. And why Nigeria wants to move into this is because moving forward, this is going to enable us to have land records. It's also going to be able to lead to proper verification of ownership, property mapping, as well as title documentation, which is very essential. And this would also become a centralized system gradually. And also, don't take my word for it again. You could see on your screen the newspaper publication saying this as well. And also note that the government also are planning to increase formal land titling and registration dramatically coming the next couple of years. And this is expected because if they must build some of these systems, it's going to require them funds, and if for them to also get the systems efficient enough, they need to also get the proper manpower to do this. And with this, they have to also increase their charges, because if they are giving more than ever, then they have to increase their charges as well. And this era, based on what they've said also, this era is going to bring an end to undocumented transaction gradually. Property without the proper documentation would also face increasing challenges when it comes to proving ownership. You could see this is also a fantastic idea in which government is working, because think of it from the comfort of your house, wherever you are in the world. You could type, let's say they've sent you a documentation, you could put the verification numbers of that property on the system, and you could know if you're actually speaking to the right owner of the land. And with that, it even gives that flow and efficiency of transaction, make transactions faster. So this is a welcomed one from the federal government. I hope sooner or later it's not going to be just they said. I'm hoping that some of them will come to reality, if not all of them, because this is something we've been calling for, and this is something that's becoming a reality and is looking that way. Okay, I'm coming to the end of the video. If you like what we're sharing on this channel, kindly do like, share, comment, and also thanks for everybody who's been sharing our videos and referring us to their family and friends in the diaspora. We truly appreciate. But one thing I want to now break down to you, because while I was doing this video, I asked myself, in every creation there must be a winner and there must be a loser, and there must be people who benefit and people who lose from it. So I've been able to jot down some few ones here. So this is the thing: we would have a lot of people that will benefit from this reform, and it's going to benefit a lot of people based on things will become more transparent. We'll be having less fraud activities then, and also we'll be having faster verification, like I've said earlier on, and it's going to create more investors having more confidence in the system. And not just that alone, it's going to also create easy accessibility to finances, especially for those who wants to have JV done. It's going to make finances easier then, and also the market, real estate market, will become stronger, because when you have something transparent, it becomes stronger as well. But my worry is this: how will this transition happen? Because we've seen system built in the past before, and the transition was not seamless. If you look at the way NIM worked, BVN worked, just to mention a few, you could see that there's still some lapses. Because for me, I've always believed that there should be just one central system for all these things, but we've had system overlapping systems over the years. So how will this transition work? That's one thing in which I ask myself. So there are questions in which I still question about this, or that I ask myself, like, will this work? Will this not work? I just jotted down some questions there. Will ordinary Nigerians be able to access the system? That's one thing. So that's one thing I ask every time, because we don't want something that we need to go and sit down in somebody's office for them to access the loan. Is it something that can be accessed from the center of our house? Also, what will be the restriction cost for you to have this accessibility? And also, very importantly, also I wrote down there, could some landowners struggle to formalize long-held family properties? So think of it, there are families that have had land for, let's say, hundreds of years, or let's say few years, 50, 60 years. How would they formalize this also into the system? And also I asked myself one certain thing, that despite we want this, is the economy ready for this? Because that's one thing I've looked at, because if the economy is not willing to imbibe this, then it's a wasted effort as well. And what will be the pace for this to work out? Is it something that can be done in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, not something long term? So for me, in conclusion, I will say this: despite this whole story looks simple, I will still say land ownership in Nigeria looks absolute. One thing I will also still say is that the government needs to do this fast. The reason is because one thing you should understand, that land ownership in Nigeria is becoming bigger and bigger as the population at large is becoming greater and greater. But also, one thing you should still ask yourself, or most thing that most Nigerians will still rethink, is this: do I, even if these systems are created, do I still own my land? That's one question I put here. Also, do I still legally own the rights to occupy the property? Okay, so these are two questions that I'm hoping that this reform is able to answer. These are two important questions I'm hoping that this system or this reform is able to answer. Now I've come to the end of the video today, so I would like to ask, have you had any land dispute before, and how was it resolved, in terms of, especially when it's a dispute leading from verification fault? And also, do you think this system is going to work in Nigeria? And also, with the political systems we have in Nigeria today, do you think this system will be transparent enough for everybody to see? Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your opinions are. Kindly do share this video to everybody who needs to know about land ownership, so that they are also made aware before they make any major investment when it comes to real estate. Once again, I say thank you for watching the video today, and do have a lovely day ahead. Bye for now.